Welcome to Whatcha Makin, a podcast about sharing ideas, discussing the business of making, and connecting with the maker community. Your hosts are Alex Adams, an engineer turned furniture maker of Type A Furniture, and an alien pretending to be a DIY craftsman, Alex Duffey of Duffey Woodcraft. This is Whatcha Makin.
Hello, makers, and welcome to Whatcha Makin, a podcast where we talk all about your current projects, spotlight makers throughout the community, and remind you that a sloth can hold its breath longer than a dolphin. This week's main discussion is working with retail and vendor partners. I'm Alex Duffey. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Duffey Woodcraft, and as an instructor over at cncwithme.com.
And I'm Alex at Type A Furniture, the same handle, Type A Furniture, on Instagram. And I just want to remind you that we do have a Patreon, and that is patreon.com/whatchamakinshow.
What you doing?
What?
What?
Oh, I was just gonna tell them that there's one more slot for the special gift that you had.
That's right. We have one more slot.
Who joins.
And so I really want to get these out to these 4 patrons. So, I might just have to send it out to a random person if we don't get a 5th patron. So hurry up and save or take that last item and don't let Braden get it.
Oh, we can't let Braden at Littlebug have it.
No.
Okay, we'll put a time frame on it. We'll say August 1st. Does that sound?
Yeah.
That's about 2.5 weeks from now.
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Okay. All right. We'll do that because we want to get everyone their special gift sent out to them soon. So we'll go with that. Set a deadline on it. Now we can go into what we're doing.
What you doing?
There we go.
Let's see. So the thing I've been working on the last 3 weeks has been all those speaker gifts for AWFS Fair. That is officially next week. So I finished all that up, boxed it up, and mailed it to myself at a FedEx store in Vegas, which I learned you can do. It's a 180-pound shipment, or $180 shipment. It was 70 pounds of stuff, so it was a big old box.
Does that compare to just shipping an oversized luggage bag?
So I thought of doing that, and it was $100 for an oversized. Problem is that they're not light with those things, and I was really worried about
they're not
damage.
Gentle. That's fair.
Right. So I was really worried about damage, and especially because I'm flying Spirit, so
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I figured I'd just mail it to FedEx. That way it's there. It's at the store right by the convention center. I can just pick it up and drive over. So
I did actually just watch Castaway, or I guess rewatched it, and they're dedicated about getting FedEx packages delivered no matter how long it takes or if they get stranded on an island.
Well, that's true. But if all of a sudden, Tom Hanks gets stranded, he's going to have a lot of firewood to burn in my package. So
I have made fire.
Yes.
I love that scene.
Me too.
It's a wonderful scene.
It is. So I'm glad to get that done. And I'm actually also really glad that I shipped it because it's gone now. It's there. I don't have to worry about another bag or anything like that. So it's out of my mind, and I can wrap up everything else I was doing this week before going. So I've been doing that. I'm wrapping up my classes for the 2 classes I'm teaching. I have the presentation for one of them completely done. The other one I'm almost done with. I'm running through it, kind of doing some practices, making sure I'm happy with how I'm going to be teaching. So I'm excited about that. And then finally, I have a commission of 3 urn boxes I've been working on. I cut all the boxes out this week on the CNC, and I carved out the person who passed really loved cardinals, and so the family wanted cardinals with sitting on a branch with some flowers engraved into the box and then filled with red epoxy, so it really sticks out on the cherry wood. So I did that, and now I'm waiting for the epoxy to harden today, and I will finish getting it all sanded up and boxed up and out the door before I leave at the end of the week. So I'm excited.
So is all of the cardinal red, or do you have some of the like spots around like the eyes and legs and stuff a different color, or is that just like the wood?
Yeah, that's just the wood. It's just the cherry wood that will provide that depth there. So otherwise, it's just a kind of a silhouette style image, and and so then the part that's carved will be filled with the red epoxy.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be nice to get those done. I made a couple of extra boxes, and that's going to be my first YouTube video coming back from break, which was only supposed to be the month of June, but ended up being June and July from off of YouTube. But I do have some YouTube videos coming up, and the first one I'm going to do is on boxes, because I'm making these boxes directly on the CNC in a different way than you normally make boxes on a CNC. And I really like this style because I can make miter joints right off the CNC versus doing butt square box ends. Because
you said that you had to use a different bit on it to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, I'm using a 1-inch 90-degree V bit so that I get that perfect miter. And I'm using the chamfer tool inside of Vectric to be able to do that miter edge around the entire thing. Because my concern is if you did just a straight profile, which is a straight line cut at full depth, that's just going to tear up the wood. And even if you did it in steps down, it would still create really too much heat for that bit. So the chamfer tool does it in it starts at the full width, and it does one line at the full width and then the next line down. And so it ends up doing 10 steps to get down to that full length at different intervals. And the last pass is at full depth, but it's only taking off barely a millimeter at that point. So,
because it's doing the finishing pass on that one. Okay.
Yeah. So, so I was really excited about that. And those projects are coming along good. So, epoxy's on hardening. It should be finished tomorrow with how hot it is in the garage. So I should get those sanded tomorrow and finish on them, and hopefully they'll be ready to be put in the mail by Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm excited.
I can't remember. Did you cut out that box out of just one sheet of material that's on there, or did you already pre-cut the dimensions and then it's just adding the chamfer?
No, I just put a sheet of cherry on there that I had because the boxes are pretty small. So it's basically 24 inches long by 9.5 inches wide. And so then using just the chamfer tool, I can cut out all four sides of the box on that one piece. And then a second piece is the top and bottom.
Okay.
So, yeah. So they're all coming out of the same board, so they're all going to have color. They're going to color match just fine because I'm not staining. It's all staying the natural color. So yeah, it'll be really good. I'll post photos when I finish it, but I'm excited to have this project, and it's a big honor for me to that they're trusting me with the remembrance of their mother. So it's very kind.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I've been making this week. What about you, Alex?
I have been doing lots of stuff. You'll notice behind me that there's a couple of walnut boards for those who are on the YouTube feed. So yeah, those boards that are behind me are probably some of the more clear boards that I have that are just straight grain. And then a lot of the other boards, they have feathering on there because it came from the crotch of the trunk. So that the crotch is basically when you go from the trunk and a tree goes to multiple branches. A lot of times it splits into two, but sometimes it's 2 or 3. And what happens is you get this kind of feathering look between those two branches at that Y intersection. Because I think they say crotch because if you turn the trunk upside down, it looks like the 2 legs, and that's where the crotch would be. Not to get too anatomically correct on a tree, but
the crotch is definitely my favorite part.
You know it. So yeah, there's about, because we milled these boards last summer, and most of them are about 5 to 6 foot in length, and turned out pretty good. There's about 30 slabs total. Most of them are about
Wow.
8/4 thick, which is about 2 inches. And that's just rough, so it'll get taken down here. I think most of them stayed relatively straight as they dried. I think the ones that have the heavier figure, there's a little bit of warping in there, but that's kind of to be expected with that kind of stuff, because unless it's like really, really straight grain and it's away from the pith, it'll have a little bit of movement one way or another. But I usually cut stuff fairly thick so that I can just mill off that extra bit and end up just fine. So I got those moved in here into the garage. Like, I just finished moving those in like 30 minutes ago. So, because they were stored at the off-site location in the basement of one of the furniture stores that I work with. Because that's where I keep like long-term storage stuff and stuff that's like drawing and whatnot. So I brought it back here because I had all of the boards. I took pictures of all of them when we first milled them, and then I put numbers on them just so that, like on the pictures itself, not the boards themselves. I probably should have put like a little chalk number or something like that on it, but
Yep.
you know, hindsight is 20/20. I guess in this case 20/25, but the customers, that's how I was able to communicate with them, like which boards they wanted to make stuff into like the showpiece of it, which most of the stuff is going to be side tables and benches. So most of the boards were selected. I got to go back through my notes and make sure that everything is fine, because there was a little bit of end checking on a couple of the boards that I wouldn't have expected. I think that was probably just because I'm guessing those were boards that were like one cut off of the pith, just because naturally, if you haven't milled up boards, the pith, the center of the tree, that's where you're going to get a lot of checking and cracking happening, because as those rings of the tree start to move around, as all that moisture is released, the dimensions changes, and then it'll naturally crack in that area a lot of the time. So that's something that you generally cannot prevent if it's going to happen. A lot of times people will put end sealers and stuff on the ends of the logs to kind of even out the moisture release, because the ends of the boards, you think of them like straws, and the end of the straw is going to lose a lot more moisture quickly than like the side of the straw, because it's kind of encapsulated a lot better. So that's
why
wood
turners will do the same thing. They'll seal whatever they cut off on the ends to help keep it so it doesn't crack. So that way when they're ready to turn it, you don't have a crack running through it.
Yeah. And there's like, especially for wood turning, since like their stuff generally, like ideally is going to be green wood, which is stuff that is not dried yet. And so they'll take some extra steps after they've turned it to like try and make sure that it does not crack after they've done it. But I'm not a wood turner, so I don't really do that a whole lot.
So what are you going to do with these? Do you have any big plans with the slabs?
So these are for a customer project. So about half of them will end up going into the customer projects, and then the other half of it I'll get to keep that they don't use. Because I think one of the things that they just wanted me to do was, they had a couple of crosscuts from like the bottom of the trunk of the tree that they wanted me to flatten, and that's kind of like you get to keep the rest of the boards, and if I do that for them. So I don't have any projects other than the customer projects earmarked specifically for these, and I'll have to see, because it's going to be interesting to see how much of this stuff I'll end up using for the legs and the aprons of these benches and side tables. So because I got to go back through and look, because there's a couple of boards that got some gnarly cracks in the center where there was a lot of that the crotch was where there was all that feathering. So I have to look and see if that was one of the numbers that they had selected that I need to sub in a different board in to use. So we'll see what my yield ends up being on that, which it'll be pretty good regardless, just because, generally speaking, everything I can get a book match piece essentially for anything that they had selected in most scenarios, so I'm not super worried about it. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Because especially like 5 foot is a pretty good length that you can make a lot of different things out of it. So there'll be some good uses of material that I can get out of it. So yeah. And then this past week, my wife and son went with my mother and father-in-law on vacation with her half-brother because he graduated high school. So they went down to Florida, so it's just been me at home this week. So I've also been doing a lot of deep cleaning while they've been gone. Actually did get a combo robot vacuum mop. So before we had these like cheaper robot vacuums, they were like maybe $120 or something like that, and they're kind of like the dumb ones that don't have like the true LiDAR sensors on them, so they just kind of like bounce around. But they do a good job of like picking up dirt and dust. But I picked up one that actually has like the LiDAR sensors and everything like that, and it mops, so it's got like, instead of just like laying down a microfiber cloth and just kind of dragging behind it, it actually has spinning microfiber pads for like mopping. And it's also one of those ones where it just has water tanks that it will use to like wet those, and then it has an automatic like clean the microfiber pads and like get all like the dirt and debris off, and then fills it with the contaminated tank, if you will, that you just empty out, and it has like the muddy water in it, and then it has the like automatic like pull out or vacuum out what it's collected and put that in like a larger bin, so you don't have to like empty it every single day. So I've been pretty excited.
Was that your Prime Day splurge?
That was actually a little bit before Prime Day, but there wasn't like a particular sale on this robot, although it was the same brand of robot vacuum. If you've seen the model that has like the little robotic arm that can like reach out and like grab stuff and move it out of the way, it's from that company. Although that one was did actually go on sale, $500 off for $2,000. So
nice.
Spend $2,000 or pick up socks.
Right. Yeah.
So
pick up the socks. I do have to say I was disappointed by this year's Prime Day. I didn't feel like there were a lot of tools on sale.
I honestly wasn't looking for a lot of tools, just because there wasn't a whole lot of stuff that I needed. But I did actually put in an order for some more storage racks for the garage. That was also separate from Prime Day, so I'm trying to get a little bit more organized and everything. So that's, and I kind of picked like when the family was away to do some of that stuff, because then I can kind of like set it up the way that I want to. I can move stuff all the way out of a room and have one other room be like a little bit messy while I get it reorganized. So like I also got the 3D print room, which is like, I don't know, like a 10 foot by 10 foot room, reorganized, because I added more filament storage on the wall, and then I did actually pick up another Bambu A1 that I also got delivered while they were away.
The army of 3D printers is growing.
Yeah. So I'm up to 3 3D printers now. Although I'll get into my some of the unexpected frustrations that I had with that a little bit later. But I got that room organized. I took out there was like a big shag rug that was in there because it was originally my office a while ago, and that was kind of more for like sound dampening stuff. But it's like, with like the little bits of filament that come off and get stuck in there, it's like I'm not gonna go in and like vacuum all that stuff. So I just took that rug out, and there was like a bunch of stuff that was on top of it that I needed to move out of the way and to get that thing out of there. So everything is a lot more compact and organized now, thankfully. So there's a lot more like walking around room, so you're not like stepping over stuff as you're trying to get to the 3D printers. And then I did actually, one of the return customers that I had that had bought several, like, keychains and stuff from me, like, vehicle logos and different brands and whatnot. There was one car show that he wanted me to make the logo of into a keychain, and there weren't any files of it because it was a little bit more of a niche TV show. I don't think it had very many seasons to it. But their logo, so the show is called Roadkill, and it's kind of got that, like, splattered, like, paint splatter kind of, like,
blood splatter
to it. Yeah, and then it had, like, a line underneath it that was also that way. And that was, like, a pain in the butt to try and get made into a model because, and this is where my skill set, like, starts and ends, is, like, I can 3D model stuff, but when it comes to, like, making SVGs and, like, those types of files where it's, like, a step before getting into 3D modeling software, like, I don't know that stuff at all. Like, I've never really used Adobe products other than, like, their PDF viewer. So I was going through different programs to try and get that vector drawing, that SVG file out of it, and there were some issues with it that I had to, like, work around a little bit, but I eventually worked through it and got the right colors filled into the right spots, because it looked like, as I was, like, filling in stuff, all these, like, vectorized lines that were in there were, like, it looked like the gerrymandered districts of Texas, where it's, like, these, like, weird curves and things that are, like, reaching, like, around, like, a text, or is, like, really, really thin. So it's, like, kind of hard to, like, click on the spot that you want because it's, like, super duper narrow, so you can't get it to be, like, the right color. And I did have to print it once, and it did this weird thing where it was, like, filling in black, like, underneath on, like, the edges of, like, the white. And so I had to, like, do some adjustments where I basically, like, filled everything in white, and then I added color, so then there wasn't extra black and red underneath the white that would basically, like, bleed through that last layer of white filament. So I made it through that, and that was a good experience. Probably a little bit more challenging than I would to have liked for such a small project, but I was able to get through it.
Nice.
Oh. Do you want me to get into the stuff that I was breaking? Because there's
Well,
quite a
I
bit
was
of
trying
stuff
to
that
do
was
our,
frustrating.
I was trying to do the transition, but
Fix it, fix it, fix it,
There it
fix it,
goes.
fix it, fix it.
Okay,
It
I'll
just
just go
wasn't
straight.
playing.
I'll just go straight into my stuff.
go for it.
So that new Bambu A1 that I had gotten, there were several issues that I had going into it that ultimately didn't end up being, like, terrible. But, like, the first one was, I was, like, 100% confident that I ordered the A1 combo that included the AMS, so I could have 4 rolls of different filaments.
Yeah.
And I looked at the order, and the picture actually had the AMS, like, right next to it. So I was kind of pissed about that. I was like, gosh dang it, now I gotta order it separate, and it's gonna be a little bit more than just ordering it together because it's gotta ship separate and all that junk.
Did you order from Bambu or from Amazon?
Yeah, it was straight from Bambu that I had made these orders because they had their sale going on. I think their sale might be done now.
I was gonna say because they were on Prime Day.
Yeah,
the A1 and the
I think
A1
they already
combo.
had their. They must have aligned their sale price to be the same as their like Amazon price, which I think when I looked it up was like basically their pre-tariff numbers in terms of like prices. I think maybe a couple of the items were a little bit different, but at least it was better than what it was. So that was like the first like thing, because I like get the box out and I take out the things and I was like, wait a minute, there's no AMS in here. So like that was the first thing, and I'm like, since it's like vacation and it's just me to myself, I was already like 3 White Claws deep before I even started doing this.
Of course, I mean that's the way you always do it.
Exactly. Like I mean, I don't have drinks often, but we had some, and I was like, I'm just gonna have few drinks and put this together. It'll be fine. And then the other issue that I ran into, yeah. The other issue that I ran into was, so I got everything set up. You know, you take off some of the brackets that hold some of this stuff in place while it's shipping so it doesn't move around. You get all the cables put together, and then turn it on to do the initial calibration. And it fails the initial calibration. I'm like, so the error that it was giving me. Now, fortunately, they're good about their error messages. They're very descriptive, and they do help you troubleshoot. But it sucks that I had to, like, try and figure it out. So it was saying, like, it wasn't getting, like, a reading from a force sensor. So it's the same force sensor that it uses when the nozzle comes down and it touches the tip of the bed to know that it's down to 0, essentially. So I had looked through their solutions and, like, okay, take the... Now, the other thing was, I'm a good boy, and I make my internet password for my Wi-Fi, like, super long numbers and characters, so it's, like, 16 random characters, and I gotta manually punch this in on this, like, 2.5-inch touchscreen, like, every time I redo this, because it, like, resets itself since it didn't get that initial calibration. So each step that I go through, when it fails, I have to, like, shut it off, and then turn it back on, and then, like, re-enter in the Wi-Fi password. Which I got sick of doing that enough that I was like, you know what, it's gonna fail this calibration anyway if this doesn't work, so I just won't enter in the Wi-Fi password until it's done. So I did that like 2 or 3 times before I got frustrated.
That's why I make my Wi-Fi passwords obscure references to old TV shows that I watch. So.
Interesting.
Yes.
So anyway, one of the things that I had to do was take the back cover off of the 3D print head and check a couple of connections, because apparently, like, if a screw isn't tight enough, it doesn't keep the it's like one of those little metal eyelets that connects onto the motherboard, or I guess the circuit board. I'm not sure if it's actual motherboard, but anyway, like, I take that off, I leave the cover off in case I have to do stuff, I tighten those down, I restart, and it fails the calibration again. And the other thing, too, is, like, hey, this USB-C cable that's on the bottom, sometimes that, like, doesn't get put in all the way. And when I had put that cable in, there's this, like, plastic housing that, like, holds a couple of the other cables for, like, the motors and things. And it has a strain relief that you use that little Allen key on to, like, tighten it down. And I don't know how, but as I was tightening down, it's kind of hard to tell if it's, like, all the way tightened down or if it's still working through the plastic. But I stripped the head of that hex screw, which is like an M3, which is a pretty small screw. So I look at the cable, I'm like, what?
I know how you did it. It was that third White Claw.
Oh, yeah, sometimes that happens. That brute strength.
Yes.
And it was like, because when I had initially done that, I was like, it's fine. I'm never gonna have to take this off. So I look at it, and it's like, you know how you're trying to, like, see if a cable's plugged in all the way when you're looking at it on the, like, port, and it's just like it looks like it's plugged in all the way, because since this is a strain relief, you've screwed down and clamped it down so you can't move it back and forth anymore, because that's the idea, is that if something moves, it doesn't unplug itself.
Right.
So I try to unscrew this, because I was like, oh, if it's stripped going in, like, it'll have enough surface area to unscrew it. It was like, well, apparently I stripped it hard enough that I can't unscrew it now. And I grab another hex wrench, because I was like, maybe I strip the hex wrench instead of the screw itself. But it turned out to be the screw after I had tried a different hex wrench. And so what I did was I just put a dab of super glue on the end of that hex wrench and just shoved it in there, sprayed it with the accelerator to dry it, but that didn't work either. So I end up having an Allen key wrench now that has, like, a glob of super glue on the end of it now. Fortunately, I've got, like, 7 or 8 of those wrenches now. So I'm frustrated at this point. I've tried to do this calibration like probably 6 or 7 times now, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna pull off this piece of plastic and get this cable free that way. So I like pull it off so the strain relief piece of plastic like just rips off around the screw. So then the screw is like out. I had already unsecured the other cable so they wouldn't like tear off or whatever. And so now that the plastic is off, now the space between like the head of the screw and the actual bottom of the 3D printer, there's that gap where that strain relief thing was tightened down. So now I was able to actually go in with a pair of pliers and unscrew it that way and just took it out. And I was like, I don't need a strain relief, it'll be fine. And then I plugged in the cable, flipped it over, passes the calibration just fine. So it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't plug in the cable all the way, and that was this issue the entire time. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous.
That's how it happens sometimes.
Yeah, so anyway, I got it working, it's set up, I've got my AMS light coming. I could have gotten the, because I think they're adding support for the, like the standard AMS and the AMS Pro to the A1, but you can only have one of them connected. But the AMS Lite works just fine, and it's pretty bulletproof, so I just stuck with that, because I don't think they have support for it right now. I want to say that they were going to have it in, like, the third quarter of this year, which we're just now getting into, I think. I guess that'd be the end of... Wait, no. Yes. Yes, and yeah, we're in the third quarter now. Sorry, I got to think about the numbers and count them out for the months. So anyway, that was the one issue that I had with that new Bambu. And then the other one was related to the 3D printed Charizard that I'm making for you. So I was 3D printing these Charizard pieces, and because this Charizard's going to be the like one that's like, you know, I can't remember if it's like about a foot tall, but it prints it in pieces, and then you've got to glue them together. So I printed enough pieces to do 2 of them, because I'm like, something's going to go wrong, and I'm going to like screw one of them up or something like that. So I put duplicates of everything on the build plate so that I could have 2 of everything. And the first issue that I had, which is a really weird one, was I put 2 of the legs close enough together that the support like overlapped with the other leg. So the like support was like interfering with one of the other pieces. I must have ignored the error, because I ignore the errors all the time. Half the time it just says like, oh, it's got too many surfaces and there's like over 1 million faces and it's slowing it down. It's like, it's fine. So that's probably, that's my fault for not checking that and getting accustomed to it. So I try and reprint this leg just on its own, and I reprint it, and I noticed that like the front of the knee, like right below the knee, it looks like it's got some weird skin disease or like leprosy or something like that. Like it looks weird. And there's like a little bit of like black coloration in there too, which I think might have been, I got the super tack plates, which they are not, it's some material that goes on top of the metal, and when it like rubs the nozzle of the 3D printer on this one spot to like clean the nozzle, I think it pulls a little bit of that up. So I don't know if it like stuck to it and it just got left in like part of the model or something like that. So like, okay, maybe it was just like this stray strand of whatever that got in there. I'm going to print it again. Well, this time when I printed it, the second time, it still looked like it had leprosy on its knee, but there was no like little black part. So it's like, I'm
fine with a leprosy Charizard.
No, the one that you have is perfectly fine. Like there was only one out of like the 4 legs that had an issue. So I already had a full set. So they're like, this is part of my plan of printing extra so that I can make a whole extra Charizard to have just on hand. So this is like for the secondary one. It's about the implication of it, right? It's not about the fact that it's a failed print. It's that it just needs to work.
Right.
So I did it. So normally what I do is I pull my prints down to like 5% infill. So I was like, oh, maybe I need to like upgrade the infill, because that like as I was watching it this one of those times, I had noticed that like it was really far out. There wasn't any part of the like interior grid getting all the way over there, and it was getting at that very, very shallow angle, like past 45 degrees. And so I could see when the nozzle was going around that like it was kind of deforming a little bit as it was going over. So I think because there weren't a whole lot of other parts, like the stuff was still warm, and the filament going by and not having extra grid support there was enough to like make it uneven. So a combination of things happening. So I upped the infill back up to 15% on this one, so there's more grids touching it. And there's still a little bit of awkward surface on it that I normally didn't see on there, but it was good enough for what I needed. So I was like, okay, that's good enough. It looks better. It's not perfect, but it'll work. I'm done reprinting this because I want to get on to other things. So that, I don't know if you like truly call that solved, but it was good enough for what I needed. And then the other thing that I might ask you about, so when I go to the farmer's market and we're outside, I have this little like display stand that I 3D printed that holds earrings on it. But the problem is, if I have like a little gust of wind, even if it's just like 5 or 10 miles per hour, like it can kind of move that around. So I'm curious if you have any like tips or tricks for like very light displays or lighter items to keep them from like flying away without like putting a paperweight on top of it.
So I do put a paperweight on top of mine, sort of. I put some extra whiskey smokers underneath on the plate to keep it held down, because I usually put my earrings right next to the whiskey smokers. And then all of my earrings are on those like little black cards that you put everything on, and those they catch the wind and flap a lot. So we actually figured out that because my earring display has like, it's like 7 hooks on each level, and it's like 3 levels. We can just take a rubber band and stretch it across the entire set of hooks on one level and put that in front of the earrings. And so all that it keeps the earrings from flying off. And when a customer wants it, all they have to do is peel the rubber band and grab the one they want.
Okay. What about because the other thing too is like just the weight of the stand itself. Is the stand that you have actually a little bit more hefty?
It is. It's a wooden base with metal legs. So I recommend that one. I like it. You can get it at Amazon. I think it was $15, and it holds 21 earrings because it has 21 different hooks. But yeah, it's good. It's fine. But yeah, if you're looking for that, I would say, or maybe adjust your 3D print file that you can stop it when you're building the base and have a void in there, and maybe put some like metal BBs or something to create a hidden
it's like
weight.
The base itself is only like, it's less than like a 1/4 inch thick, and it's like honeycombed. So there's no gap there. I could probably set something under there, but I don't know if I can get like enough weight. Maybe if I got like a little metal bar or something like that. Do you have any like shallow bars of gold that I could just set right there that I could borrow?
I don't. I have platinum and silver, but just not gold.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. Going and stealing some catalytic converters and getting some platinum more readily available.
Yeah, easier to find.
Yeah. Well, what did you break?
Let's see. So with my urn boxes, this is something that I often do, and I did it this time, which was do my practice run on a cheap material of like MDF or plywood or something like that. I designed the file in Vectric, and I was like, this is going to work. It's perfect. It's the perfect measurements, everything. It'll be fine. Cut it out. Yeah, no, it's not fine. So I lost a whole box from the file for 2 reasons. One, I put it too close to the hold down clamps, and when my dust boot hit the clamps, it was moving the spindle a little bit, so it was off.
Oh.
So it wasn't actually on center anymore. And then the other issue was the bottom piece, because it's the way the box is designed is it has a little slot and the bottom piece slides in it, so you can close it and reopen it from the bottom. I didn't account for that extra 1/4 of an inch on the far plate side that it has to like slide into. I just did the width of the box, not the width plus a 1/4 of an inch.
Oh.
Because it's inset into the wood. So yeah, so I learn mistakes. Everybody makes them. But that's why I usually say your first prototype always needs to be made out of cheap wood, and I didn't do it this time, and I paid for it quite literally out of nice cherry. So, and then I have more broken skin. I went and got some more tattoo work. I got a forest around my fox, which is upside down, but so I have a nice the next session on my arm. I'm going to eventually do the whole sleeve.
Oh, really? How many sessions is that going to end up being total?
Well, so my sleeve is going to be, I'm just doing from the elbow down. So I'm doing the lower sleeve. I'm not going to do the upper. And so this was one. We're probably going to do one more and maybe a third to wrap the sky around. Depends on how long it takes to do the next one, if we can do it all in the same session or not.
Are you going to throw like a little Ewok in that forest?
No, there's no Ewok, but there is going to be a little UFO in the sky. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Just to accompany Lucy.
Yeah, exactly.
With her diamonds.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's really cool. He showed me the design in progress, and I'm very, very stoked with what he's doing, because I gave him minimal. I just said I want mountains, I want trees, I want a lake, and I want starry, beautiful sky with lots of color, and find a way to throw a UFO up in the sky. And so he sent me the first thing, and it was just gorgeous. So I'm really excited. And then so we're filming a couple of days late from our normal film day, and that's because apparently I'm allergic to Bactrim antibiotics. I got a cut and I had to get a little antibiotic on my leg for it. And so they gave me some Bactrim. I took a pill, and all of a sudden it looked like I was a Kardashian right after getting the lips filled. Nice. Yeah, my face all swelled up. It was bright red. I was sitting there with an ice pack and texted you and be like, I can't do it because I look like a duck and I can barely speak. Yeah, so apparently I developed an allergy to that type of antibiotic. So that was something new that my body is breaking, which is exciting. And you're breaking.
I got that fly, but my bracket, like my electric bracket thing, kind of fell off. It was already broken.
That thing is falling apart, man.
Yeah, it's one of those electric tennis racket things that you use to hit flies. Oh, there's another one. Let me see if I can get him. No, I didn't get him that time.
I need to get you a new one.
Yeah, I think I stepped on it at some point, and that's why it broke. So, because I'm trying to get these flies away from me. But let me try one more time. Got him.
Nice. Well done. Well done. Okay. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is what you're here for, the enjoyment. Yeah. So, anyways, that's my body was going through all funds of breaking itself this week, which was exciting. So.
Shut up and take my money.
What did you sell to earn that tattoo?
Yes. So I sold my first wooden notebook, actually. So I made a whole bunch of the wooden notebooks for the AWFS Fair, and then I, as a corporate item for wholesale, but I haven't actually ever sold them in a store or at a market yet, because they're a brand new product to me. And so on Saturday night, I went down to one of my retail stores I work with, the Sea Gypsy in Astoria, Oregon. They, every first Tuesday or whatever, they do, the city does an art walk during the summer, and the stores stay open a little bit later, and they feature an artist in each store. And so I was one of the featured artists this time around, and for the Sea Gypsy. And so it was really fun to meet people, see how they interact with my display at the store. Because Naomi who runs the store, she's amazing and gives me like the entire front section when you walk into the store is like all of my work. So it's really fun to see as people walk in, they immediately see it. And it's kind of fun. There was a lot of people that see it, they look at it, they go around and look at other stuff, and then they come back to it and they grab something from it and buy it. And so it was really kind of fun to see how people were interacting with it.
Yeah.
But I had brought 3 of the notebooks down to show Naomi and say, hey, are you interested in these products? This is what I would have to sell them for. She absolutely loved them, so we put them out. And actually, one of her employees that was there was like, yeah, I'm going to be your first sale because I absolutely love these. And so she immediately bought one, which was pretty cool. So I'm going to bring the rest of the notebooks down next week and before I go to Vegas and put them out there for the store. But we'll talk actually a little bit about that here shortly with our vendor stuff. But I like to, before just randomly bringing a new product, I always approach my partner and talk to them about what they're interested in. And this is something I'm making. What do you think the price should be? Because it needs to be valuable for both of us, and so on. And so this was a great way to do that. And it was a great time because Naomi, she runs the store, and I really only see her at this point when I'm getting a check or dropping off a new product or so on. There's not a lot of communication, of long-term communication. So this was like 4 hours that I was in the store, and it was just her and I for a lot of it while people were just talking and looking around at products. So we just got a lot of time to talk and continue to build that vendor and producer artist relationship. So it was a lot of fun. I look forward to doing it again. I told her I would do it anytime she wants me to because it's fun. And apparently I learned that I'm still her #1 seller for the last 36 months straight.
Nice. Do you have like a plaque on the wall, like the equivalent of the like employee of the month, but it's like vendor of the month, and it's just like the whole wall, like that one episode of
It's
SpongeBob?
just me. I don't, but
you should just start making them and just like start putting them up. Just make their own frame and a picture of you.
I absolutely did. So I had told her, I was like, I really appreciate her and everything she's done, and I wanted to build her something. I was like, tell me what you need for your house. I'd love to build you a coffee table or end table or something like that. She's like, no, you don't need to do that. This has been great for both of us and relationship. She's like, you've been my best seller for like 36 months and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. But she took a chance on me when I first got started, when I had no experience whatsoever and was still learning, and took a chance with my products. And luckily it's worked out for both of us, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I want to continue to foster that relationship. Because at this point, for me at least, it is a regular paycheck every month from at that store, which is great. And it's a nice steady, it's been steady now for the last couple of years. So I really enjoy working there. So that's what I was selling this week. What about you?
So this week, farmer's market again. Surprisingly, I didn't have a lot of those normal like articulated dragons sell a bunch, and I don't know if that was like you get enough regulars that come through, like the people that have bought those have already gotten what they wanted. They are a much more popular 3D printed item. Where I've heard some people like, oh no, like. When a kid goes by, like, oh, you've already got a dragon at home or something like that. So it's like they've been to other places where they've gotten that before. But I've gotten more Pokemon stuff selling, like the articulated stuff. Like I had an articulated Eevee that I had sold, and that actually came from listening to customers as they're like talking stuff. But they're like, oh, he's got a Charizard, but he doesn't have an Eevee or something like that. So like making those mental notes of when people like have a request, and it's tough because you don't want to weigh the opinion of someone who hasn't bought anything as much as someone who has purchased something, because if someone who like comes by and looks at it and they actually have bought stuff from you in the past, or like you can tell that they're like intent on buying it, if you actually had it, then I'll just I'll go and print that. Because like this week I had a girl that had stopped by and she was looking to the Pokemon that I had, and she's like, "Do you have any of Cubone?" And I was like, "No, I have not printed any of that one yet, but I certainly will, and I'll have it here next week." And she's like, "Oh, do I need to like pay you right now to like get it done?" I was like, "No, it'll be fine. Like I'll print a batch of them because that reduces the amount of cost that it takes to print them instead of doing like onesie twosie." Because normally nowadays what I'm doing is I print something as like a batch of like 5 or 10 because it just with the prep time and switching between different colors when it's printing something, it just makes the cost per unit lower, so then it's easier for me to sell. Because then like if I know that someone's going to purchase it, I'm much more likely to do like a set of like 5 or 10 of these, because one of them is going to basically pay for the material of like the rest of them, if not all of the material of those. So that was a little bit of the theme this week, was like recurring customers with special requests for things. Because it was the same week that I gave that one gentleman that like custom keychain that I made off of that show Roadkill. So I sold him like 4 of those keychains, and then the one of the guys that had mentioned the Eevee, he showed me a file, because I think he works in IT or something like that, and he showed me this like, "Hey, I was gonna get some other guys in the office this like cable strap thing or whatever." I was like, "Oh yeah, I could print that for you just fine." She's like, "Okay, I'll go talk to some of the other guys to get a count of like how many people actually want it, or if it's just him that wants one of those." So we'll see where that one goes. So I'm getting more actual requests for something, which is good, because then it's a little bit less of me guessing what to print and just hoping that someone is going to have a need for that particular item. Because you can do some research on customer demand of certain products, but unless you've got some input from those actual customers, it's going to be, it's still going to be a stab in the dark, because sometimes you'll get it and you'll get something that's great, and then you'll have another thing that you think is going to do well, and then it just completely flops and no one buys it. So, because one thing that I've noticed is that stuff that has a more difficult time of selling are items that it's not immediately apparent what they are. And what I mean by that is, if someone sees a toy and they know it's a toy and they want to buy a toy, like, it's a quick decision that they can make very quickly. But like one of the things that my son Peter had printed, it was kind of like a Wolverine claw, but it was just for like one finger, and like he had to explain to kids what it actually did and like how to put it on and how to get it working. And so it took a little while for like kids to understand what it was. And when you only have a certain amount of time that someone is at your booth, the less time they think about what it is, and the more time they think about, do I want this or not, you're more likely to get those sales, or them seeing more stuff on your table or your display that may actually interest them, and they can see it and understand it right away. Because like one of the things that I did print out that I haven't gotten any sales of it yet, but I bet I will. There are these little like spare toilet paper holders that look like Shaun the Sheep, if you've ever seen him. So it's got little legs on the bottom, and then in the middle of the roll you put the little spot for his head. So like it's immediately apparent when you see that, oh, this is just a decorative way of holding toilet paper rolls that are extras that can be out in the open but are like more decorative. But once you start getting into like some of the like little jigs and like kitchen gadgets, we've all seen kitchen gadgets where you like look at it and you're like, it's some corkscrew looking thing, you're like, what in the world does this thing even do?
Right. Yep.
Because if you have to explain it to someone and they can't naturally understand it on their own, you're less likely to get them to like purchase something because they've got to take that time to understand what it is before they even start thinking about, is this something that I even want?
Absolutely.
So anyway, things have been going all right. It was a little bit cooler of a day as well, so that was nice. It was a little bit more cloudy, so we did get a decent amount of people. I think it was maybe I haven't been like keeping super like hardcore track of like everything since it's kind of like stuff for my son, but the sales were I think they were a little bit less this week than they were the previous week, just because I think the potential threat of like a storm coming in, even though it was cooler, kind of made it so that not as many people stopped by. But I still got a decent amount of traffic from that event, so that was mostly what I had selling this week.
All right, so this week in our maker shout out area, there are some amazing makers, as always, that I want to shout out. So first is Scroll Saw Scribbler. I shouted him out last week, and he is just killing it this last 2 weeks. All he's doing is posting some amazing work he's been doing, and because we're big Futurama fans, I wanted to shout out. So he did this amazing wall piece of Bender drinking a beer. It looks so good, and man, his work is incredible. So check him out if you haven't yet.
And I'm mad that you took that before I was able to get it, because I saw it and then you nabbed it first. I was like, dang it, I was gonna put that on there. So he stole it from me.
What
I mean by stole is Mr. Duffy stole it from me, not not the artist.
So then the new Janky Workshop, also on Instagram, he made this brass knuckle looking serving trays out of Bamex, which is one of my favorite materials to work with. And that's the 3-ply bamboo core material that's got, so they generally have a couple, it's called bourbon, and then they also have tiger. And so the bourbon is like a walnut color, and then the center is the natural bamboo, and then another walnut color. Or the tiger is like, it looks like tiger stripes of bamboo and the walnut on the top and bottom layers with, again, natural in the middle. So it creates this really beautiful two-tone or dual-tone color when you carve into it on a CNC. And so I like seeing when people are using that material, because it's such a cool material to use, and for trays especially, because it is food-safe material. It's super easy, and it's super stable. You don't have to worry about it really bending or moving once you've cut it. So he made this really cool brass knuckle serving tray, which was neat. The Doc Turner Woodcraft made these adorable penguins. I love Doc Turner. He always makes some really great stuff. And he was talking about it's not too early to start prepping for Christmas. So he was making these cool two-toned body. I think it was oak and hickory. At least it looked like it's definitely oak. I couldn't tell what the darker one was. I think it was hickory, because the grain was too big for cherry. But these really cool penguins with a red paddock nose or Paduke nose. They were super cute. And he does everything by hand turning or wood turning. And then Willa Ash Designs. She again has been making some incredible funny reels. One of them was just a picture of her hugging a clamp, and it said, somebody had put on there, "You seem happier," and she goes, "Yeah, thanks. It's because I bought more clamps." And I think we can all identify with, we all love clamps and need more clamps, and so it just feels good when we get new clamps.
Yeah, running out of clamps is like the worst feeling ever, because you're usually in a glue up, you have a limited time, and you're just so frazzled.
Exactly, and you're like, I just need that one more. Yeah. So yeah. I saw that and I identified with it immediately. So it made me laugh. And then Designs by Donnie Woodworking on YouTube. I came across his channel, and he made this incredibly gorgeous rustic sofa table that's designed to look like the old large beam hand-sawn joinery, where it looks like a dovetail, but it's like, giant, like you would see on an old barn. Yeah, like the big
chunky.
Yeah, but he made it all from 2x4s and other material you get from Home Depot. So it was all cheap wood from Home Depot, and he had glued it up and worked with it. And so the idea of going, you can make something beautiful with, Home Depot's curvy, horribly wet wood. And so, but it looked really good. I was really impressed. So I thought I want to make sure to shelf that out, because seeing somebody go, you don't have to be, a fancy woodworker to go to a lumber yard or anything. You go to Home Depot and buy some wood and still make something gorgeous. So I really liked that. How about you? What have you been seeing this week?
The first one that I have is from Daniel at Graham Studio, and he made this like itty bitty mini roll top desk, and I just love seeing it. Like the little timbre mechanism for the roll top to like come down and up. It's like straight out of the
seam. How itty bitty?
Like 3 inches by 2 inches. Like that small.
like
so
Dollhouse.
Yeah, so it looks like it would fit into the Derek Zoolander Kid Center for kids who can't read good and want to do other stuff good too.
Perfect.
Because it needs to be at least 3 times bigger than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just fun to see, because like the mini stuff is so fun because it's just adorable. Plus, I love seeing timbre all the time. It's just so much fun.
Oh yeah.
The other one that I have, I've seen his stuff a lot, and I've just been forgetting to mention it. So John at John Murphy 781. So he makes these scale model versions of like heavy equipment, like especially cranes, and they're all out of like walnut and maple and like other like natural wood colors, natural hardwoods, and they are like functional. They move, and like everything works like it would on the actual machine itself. So like I think the most recent one that I saw, I think was one of those like I think it was one of those trucks where the arms extend out for the stabilizers that go down, and then it's got like the big crane on the back. I think that was the type of crane that one was. But he's just got so many different ones if you just go through his feed of just like various heavy machinery. It's what adult men want in their life, is just like scale model of large heavy equipment. It's just
functional scale model.
Yes, exactly functional stuff. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then the last one that I have, it's less of like a make product thing, but more like the design process. So Caleb Ulfers, he's someone that I wouldn't call him like a true like acquaintance. Like I met him in some events at Omaha, and he's not in Nebraska anymore. I think he's somewhere in California, but he's a serial entrepreneur type, and he has a series of videos where he talks about like different things when it comes to like brand and marketing and product stuff. But one thing that he had a mini series on was what he referred to as little luxuries. So here what you're thinking about are things that are probably not in the like hundreds of dollars range, but like something that you would normally spend like 10 or 20 bucks on, but like a nicer version of it being like $100 or so, or something like that. So like think about like what your dog's water dish and food bowl is like, where it's like there's like the $20 version, and then there's the like $100-some version. It's like nicer, more refined things that your average person can afford and then like splurge on. So just thinking about it, and especially when you're thinking about different types of products that you're building and that like what you're designing and who you're actually designing for, one thing is just going out and having hobbies and doing activities where you're out and about doing stuff, and you find some of these things out in the wild where there might be a demand for something, where someone wants like a much more nice or refined version of something else that they like normally get, whether it be for like gaming or sports or a particular movie franchise that they like, things along those lines. Just going out and enjoying your own hobbies and seeing those kind of things out there, you'll find that kind of stuff. Because like Peter Kapar got a bunch of orders for like ice climbing hooks because of connection to doing some like rock climbing stuff at a place. At least that's my understanding of how he got that connection. So because he does, he's done some like rock climbing stuff and instruction stuff, like he was in that environment, and so someone had a need for something that he was able to make that they actually needed. So I mean, that's why it's important to just go out and enjoy stuff and do things, and you'll naturally find products that people will need, that you can design and make for them, that are those like in that little luxury category. So the videos where he describes these are like, they're probably less than a minute long, and they're pretty quick and easy to understand. So I would encourage, I think he did like at least 3 or 4 of them, so they're pretty recent on his feed of reels that you can see that. So that's the last one that I have on my list of things that I've been watching.
Summarize it in one word.
So this week's main topic is all about vendor and retail relationships. So like, how do we meet partners? How do we find out what they need? What type of partnerships, and so on. So Alex and I wanted to talk about that and kind of just give you some of our tips and tricks and things that we've done in the past. So Alex, how would you go about meeting some vendors or retail partners?
So for me, it comes down to if you've got a warm introduction to someone, or like this is someone that you're meeting for the first time without any connections. So if you've got a warm introduction, that means that like someone knows that person already, and they can say like, hey, this is so-and-so, I know them, they've got a store. I'm sure that they would probably like having you have some stuff in their store. It would probably fit in just fine. And then they, set up like a group chat where they like set up time for you guys to meet and talk about what it is that you guys could potentially work on together. Because ideally that's how you want to have an introduction, or you want to have one where like you've posted your stuff somewhere, or it's been on Instagram or your Facebook page or on your website, and someone has seen it and they actually want you to have stuff in their store. Like that would be like the ideal scenario, although not all relationships are going to start off that way. It'll take a little bit more work and like searching to find who actually fits with your kind of stuff that you actually make.
Yeah, absolutely. I can give an example of that too. So as I was talking to earlier, Naomi, who runs the Sea Gypsy, I had known her prior to when I started woodworking. She's an artist herself, and she makes these beautiful glass stained window pieces. And my wife and I had commissioned her to do a piece for our house when we first moved in, because we love her work and it's very beach themed, and we wanted a big beach themed window and thought it was really cool. So we had already had that relationship. So that was kind of that warm relationship as far as knowing each other. And then when I started doing woodworking, I had reached out to her just by a text and said, hey, these are some of the products I'm making right now. Are you interested in having a little like shelf that I could put some of these on in your store? And basically it was yeah, let's give it a shot and see. And this is what I charge, and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, so that's a good, if you already know somebody or you've gone to a store and have that relationship, yeah, it's a perfect starting point as a warm introduction.
Yeah, and when you do get to those conversations we were talking with that person, understanding what it is that they would need out of the relationship, like what it is that they're looking for, whether it's like, hey, I have, all of these different furniture pieces or whatnot, but I don't have shelves or like good side tables or something like that, or they're like, I cannot sell enough of this type of like side table, like can you make something that's similar to that? Like understanding what their needs are, because what someone else's business may need may not be the same thing that you actually make, and that's okay, because
absolutely
you can't just force what you have on everyone. Because so the furniture store, the first one that I started working with, I actually worked there part-time doing sales stuff just for some like extra Christmas money, and that was before I had made anything. And then when I started making some stuff, then we kind of had like some conversations about, oh yeah, we could throw some stuff in here in the store and rotate it in. And I cannot tell you how many times we had like a random person come in who had like artwork or other stuff, and they're like, hey, can we like sell this stuff in there? Or like a rep from some furniture brand coming in and saying like, hey, like, can we sell this stuff? And like when you see it from their angle, you can see some of the things that are like annoying or like pet peeves to them when someone initiates that conversation. Because if you come at it from your angle of what you need, you're probably going to get dismissed pretty quickly because they hear that stuff like all the time. But asking them like, what is it they need? Like, what's something that's challenging for you? What's something that, you know, sells well, but maybe it doesn't have a good margin on it for you that you need, and understanding some of the stuff that they actually want to have in their store. Because if they're a place that like, if they do more like artwork and that's their like customer base, like having something that's more functional, in terms of like, if it's, you know, side tables or, like coat racks or something like that, but they sell more like art pieces, that may not mesh with the demographic of customer that they actually have. So getting to know what it is that they have for their like customers, what their customers want, and helping them figure that out, you're going to get a lot better reception on there, because they know that you have their interests in mind. Because when it comes down to it, they're operating their business and they're trying to like keep it alive. And if you don't fit with that, they're like, this is like extra stuff that I don't need to worry about. I've got a million other things to do. As anyone with a small business has ever known, you get so much like junk mail and other stuff that you're just trying to like filter out what it is that you even like want to even entertain the thought with, because like sometimes you just don't have the time of day to like think about stuff that doesn't make sense, and you got to be quick about figuring out what's worth your time and what isn't worth your time.
Yeah, and absolutely. And going back to kind of the introductions and how to find these people too, like as you mentioned about being on that end of hearing people come and say, hey, do you want to work together, that kind of stuff. Like, so I work for a consumer electronics company as my day job, and so I have been on the receiving end of tons of, you know, content creators and influencers contacting the company going, hey, we'd love to promote your product if you send me one for free. And like, I've seen so many bad pitches of people just, hey, I love this product, you should send it to me so I can tell my followers about it. And I'm like, wow, you are really full of yourself, person. And just some of the stuff that happens. And so if you're reaching out to a retail store, or and I'm not talking about reaching out to like getting a product in this case, but in going out to retail stores or something, and you have no introduction there, you've never been there, or you've never had a communication with them, there's two different ways I do these type of cold introductions, in my opinion. Is first, I go to the store. I walk in, I do a secret shop in my own mind of I check out what the store looks like, what do they need, what do I see that I offer that they don't already have, and then I come up with a plan, and I write up a kind of basically a pitch to them of like, hey, these are the products that I have. I think they'd fit really well in your store because I see you have this, and they could be complemented together so that they both sell well together. So like if, you know, they sell a drink mixing kit, well, I smell a whiskey smoker. Somebody might buy both of those and make it as a big gift bundle for somebody because they go together. And so things like that I will pitch to them as far as these are the items that I have that I think will work really well. And so I will either go into the store, and once I'm done with that and I have that pitch together, I'll go back to the store and ask to speak with the manager and just say, hey, do you have time today? Or is there a good time that would work that we could meet? Or if you're not somebody who's comfortable doing that, email them out on their website and just write out that whole pitch, send it to them in the contact us section of their website if they've got one. If they don't, go to social media, but go to the website first. Don't go straight to social media, in my opinion, because it shows that it's not just a an afterthought as you're scrolling Instagram and like, oh, I want to work with you. It's a thought of go to the website. You've done your job to go the way they're asking you to contact them, not necessarily just the way it's easiest for you to contact them. So that's usually how I recommend doing a cold pitch if you don't have any type of contact with one of these retail stores. You also mentioned if ideal case that they see and reach out, and this is why I highly recommend that you always pay attention to what hashtags or what things in your area for local stores that they're using. If you see on their social media, for me in the area, it's PDX Makers or Vancouver Made. So I started hashtagging that. In the second store I work with, they did reach out to me. They had saw some of my products off of those tags and said, hey, we'd love to have one of these in your store. Would you be interested in working with us? And so we started that relationship that way. That was at Pop Local, my second store that I started working with. And that's been a great relationship too. It's a lot more confined, and we'll talk about that in a minute as far as what you need or what you get out of it. But do you have anything else as far as how to introduce or make that first jump that you recommend or have done?
Yeah, I would say if you're going there in person and you actually have physical samples of what it is that you have, that's a good way to be able to describe something. Because even if you have, because I've done it before where I've had actual furniture pieces like side tables and things, and I've also had things where it's like finish samples of like different species of wood, where it's just like the finish and those different like walnut, hickory, sycamore, cherry, all that different stuff to show, because like the types of finishes that I use are generally, they don't look the same as some of your more like commercially available furniture, so it like physically looks different. So that's something that someone can actually see and be like, oh, that's the difference. And if you have pictures of stuff that you can share as well as you're talking, whether it's if it's something that's on your Instagram feed that you can just pop up and show, or if it's just like on your camera roll and be like, oh yeah, like here's something that I made. But I would say as you're going into that conversation, especially if it's cold, I've had it happen before where I've had someone say, oh yeah, like you should go talk to this store because your style would probably fit in with it, which is not like an actual warm introduction. They didn't have any connection to it. They just were aware of that store. So I've walked into a store before and be like, hey, someone had mentioned to me that they said that the style of some of the furniture that I make would fit in here. Is there anything that you guys are looking for in particular when it comes to like furniture that you're trying to stock or have on hand? Because at the time that I had that conversation with that particular store, I was like, I guess it's still now like me doing a lot of custom stuff. So it's a little bit different than having something that's pre-made with inventory. But I can, make stuff that is readily available. If it's something where they're like, yeah, we always need side tables because we only get so many. Because sometimes some of these shops, especially furniture makers, some of them will have like a showroom model where it's like it always stays there and then they just order in new stuff, as opposed to some shops will have stuff on the floor that you can actually sell and take home. So some furniture stores are one way or the other, or the other of those two types. And sometimes that can affect how they actually manage their inventory and how much space they even have for inventory, because they might have to think in their head like, all right, showroom space, do I even have space for this stuff? Because if they don't, it's going to be a hard sell to get them to open up space in their shop for you to actually have your stuff displayed, because it's less about your stuff being there and more about, all right, I can sell X amount of units if I have a display of like beds or dressers or something like that. Can this person's product outcompete how many sales I normally get off of these other display items, because you're not always going to be competing against something that's like exactly the same as what you make. Like if, for example, you make pens that you turn, well, if you're making pens for a shop, they may not have pens right now, but do they need those in their shop? Like what do they lose by adding you, and does adding what you provide increase the amount of sales that they get for that square footage that they have on that brick and mortar store? Because they've got a pay rent or a lease or whatever for their physical space. So they've got overhead, and you've also got to consider what that display looks like and how to get it to attract people to actually make sales at that display.
Absolutely, and that ties back into like what you were saying by listening. What do they need? Like, you're not going to go to a store, say you turn pens. You're not going to walk into a store and be like, "Hey, I turn pens. You should stock." Well, we only sell knives here. You know, like you need make sure you're listening to what they need and what they are going to offer, and as you said, what's going to benefit them. And that kind of also moves into like what is the partnership going to look like. So I always suggest when you're getting into a partnership, you always have clear expectations written down if possible, a contract if it really ideally, but at least an expectation of what's happening. So are we talking, is this a consignment, which means that your product is there in their store, and when it sells, they get a chunk of it? Is it wholesale, meaning that, again, the product is in their store, but they have purchased that product, you've already been paid, and now they can sell it for whatever they want to sell it for? Or is it a custom order? So in Alex's case, when you make furniture, is it a custom order as far as somebody has looking for that one-off design or that one piece that they want at the time? So there's a lot of good ways to do that, and different relationships to have in that way. Consignment and wholesale are really my bread and butter as far as what I do. I don't do a lot of custom orders. Now, Alex, I think you're the opposite, right? You do mostly custom.
Right.
So for me, with the consignment and wholesale, you also have to think about, well, how is the space going to showcase your products in the store? So are they going to provide a space for you to set up, and do you have to have displays and stands and etc., or are they going to do that? All you have to do is just bring them the product. It's kind of interesting. My two stores, I've been lucky enough that they really are just, they want me to drop off the product, and they're both consignment, and they want they take their portion when it sells, but they set up the display on however they want it. Now, lately, my store I've been with the longest, the Sea Gypsy, I can go in and set it up a little bit or adjust things around it. She moves it around as she sees fit too, but she's given me a lot more freedom as that relationship has grown and trust has been built there. And then for when you, especially again with wholesale and consignment, you also then need to think about like your inventory. How are you tracking inventory? Are you just showing up and dropping off product and keeping a Excel chart on your own, or do they have an inventory tracking system? So Sea Gypsy at Naomi's store, I just drop off products. I'm in charge of keeping up a track of my own inventory. She tracks when things sell, and every month when I pick up a check, because I go to the store, I restock, I get a check from her, and she gives me a write-out of everything that has sold. So I keep my own inventory logs. The other store I work with, Pop Local, they've gone completely digital. I can log in at any time and see an online representation of what my stock and inventory is in the store right now, how much I have stock of each product, and I get direct deposited every month from them, versus having to go in to a store. Interestingly enough, I actually like the Sea Gypsy model more than the online inventory, because I find I go more often to the Sea Gypsy because I'm interested to see what is selling. I'm there physically. I'm picking up product. I'm picking up that check. If things aren't moving, I'm moving them around, or I put a little last chance sticker on it to see if that helps get something to sell. And if not, then I take it out and I refresh the product. Where when it's an online inventory, I just go and look and go, okay, I still have 5 of these. I don't need to go into the store. So I don't necessarily get a good understanding of what's going on in that store if I want to bring something new. They also have a very interesting or a very restricted policy of what you can bring. Everything that at Pop Local you have to get approved by the inventory manager, and it has to go through a jury process to get approved before it goes into the store. Where on the beach store, the opposite is the case, where I just show up with new product and she's happy to put it out. Now, I do always check with her first of what that product is. For example, those notebooks I was talking about. But for the most part, it's just bring what I want to bring. If I think it's going to work well there, it's going to work well. So, so those are just some things that I like to check as far as wholesale and consignment go. And both of my stores have different consignment purchases. I will say real quick, I did work with a third store that started consignment, and then she moved to a wholesale model. I stopped working with that store, though, because she wanted a wholesale model, but with one or two products at a time. She didn't want to house any inventory, so she didn't want to purchase in bulk, which to me, that's what you're doing when you purchase wholesale. You're purchasing in bulk amount of items.
That's how you get the discount. It's easier to manufacture a bunch at a time.
Exactly. And so I'm not going to sell you wholesale cribbage boards and only sell 2 of them at a time versus selling you 20 at a time. Mm-hmm. How has your partnerships worked with your custom orders and how you do things?
Yeah, so when it comes to how I've set up stuff for displays, so what I did was I made a few different items that were technically for sale, but they were items that were consignment, but they were there to be more like marketing pieces of showing fit and finish of what something that I make is like. So I made like a sofa table, a coffee table, and some end tables, and then we put that in the store, because generally how the furniture store that's close by me operates is they buy stuff that is actual inventory, and that's what they have out on the floor. So as they buy new stuff, like they can order stuff in from various vendors as well and do custom orders that way. But what they have on the showroom floor is available for purchase. So they will mix and move their inventory with different decor items for different times of year, and as they get different stuff in that they actually order, they will make displays essentially where they put together a coffee table and like a little centerpiece and maybe some like candles that go with it to kind of like show you, like, because they're trying to get not just the sale of the coffee table but also the accessories that go with it. So you're kind of bleeding a little bit over into almost an interior design kind of setup where you're trying to sell the what the room is going to look like, as opposed to just like singular items. And so with the items that I have, I had made a few, and those had led to a couple of custom sales. And it's also for me a physical storefront where people who know that I make stuff will see there are things there, and sometimes they'll just order smaller stuff through me where they're like, oh yeah, I saw that you had, the side table over there. Can I get a custom cutting board or something like that? So I do try to run stuff through the store if it comes through the store, but if it's someone who's ordering something directly through me, I generally work with that person. But sometimes just having stuff in a storefront, it will drive sales that could actually go to like your website or directly through you. And one thing that I'll try and do sometimes is run some of those sales back through the store that come through me. Generally, if there's something that is large that I'm making that I need to deliver that I can't like fit in my CRV, like I can fit like 10-foot boards in my CRV, so I can fit like pretty sizable stuff in there. But if it's like a TV stand or something like that, like it's going to go back through the store, and essentially I pay them like a delivery fee as part of that, so then the store gets a cut in there as well. Because you don't want to like cut the store out of potential sales, because you want to have it be a good relationship where you're actually helping them drive revenue, because your relationship should be about what it is that they need, and if they're looking to get sales, like, that's what you want to do. Because like you were saying earlier with a bunch of influencers who are like, well, I could get it exposed to all of my followers, but it's like, well, in the end of the day, we want actual sales and numbers to come through this. So it's like, it's different than the like marketing advertising where it's just like, you know, you're not just a billboard, right? Where you're expecting, you know, marketing budget to go into it, and you may not necessarily be able to track when someone saw the billboard and came through to the store. Although you do want to track that if you can. Like if someone comes to your website and you're like, hey, like if they contact you and you say, hey, like, how did you hear about it? It could be a Google search. It could be they saw you in that store. It could be, you know, they saw your Instagram feed. So just asking people, like, especially when you have those customers and having that dialogue there, you can learn stuff about those customers, which what you were talking about there, where you were looking at the display and putting on stickers to, you know, whether it's discounting stuff or whatnot. One thing that you can do, if it doesn't matter what kind of store that you're in and what kind of display you have, if you just walk through that store and just glance at your stuff, because that might be as much time as you get from a customer, because to you, you're naturally going to go to your stuff and you're going to stare at it and you're going to look at it from, you know, a bunch of different angles. But in actuality, if someone's walking through, you might get just 2 or 3 seconds of them glancing at it, and you want to be ready for that. So if you have your display set up and it's like, it's not eye level and someone's glancing down, but it needs to be, you know, directly in eye line for them to see all the cool features and stuff, make it so that they can see all those features that you want them to see. If it needs to be eye level, or if it needs to be lower down on a coffee table, if it's like a decor item, or, you know, a different type of product that you have, or if it's, you know, if it's a game or something like that, having the pieces out so they can, if they want to see what the pieces look like, or if they want to play with it a little bit or whatnot. Because like at the farmer's market, when I'm running that booth, you know, it's different because I'm there watching people as they're playing with stuff. And so I have all of the like articulated stuff out where people can actually touch and feel all of the stuff. So if your product is meant to be held and handled, you want them to actually do that, so they're more likely to experience that product and be like, yes, I want this, or no, it's not for me.
Excuse me. And yeah, so let's say you've reached out to them, you've got into the store, you have you're selling product there. Now it's time to continue this relationship. And for me, I would say a couple of things that I recommend that every maker, every small business does. One, if they do events, you need to be involved. So, for example, just last weekend, I did the art walk, or this past weekend, I did the art walk there. I was involved with that event. The Pop Local does a lot of events in the area. I always sign up for any of the events that they do at least once a quarter. You need to be part of their community. So when they think of their vendors, or they think of somebody that they want to work with, you're always at the top of their list. If you drop off product and then never show back up except to get your check, you're just making this a transaction. And especially with small business, because you're a small business, you know, you want to work with people who are personable and work with you. Where if you're just checking in and just dropping off product and that's it, you're not going to be part of that relationship very much longer, and it's going to stagnate. Actually, when I was talking with Naomi, she was talking about, you know, some of the artists, because her store has 40 different artists in it that all make her store. But some of those artists haven't checked back in over a year. And that's insane to me. Like, one, how do you know if you've sold anything? Or if you need to restock or anything like that? Like, if you're not checking in, that's just unacceptable in my opinion. You should be checking in at least once a month check in your inventory, check in on what's going on, if there's something that they need. Because this is a relationship that it needs to work for both of you, but mainly it's working for your benefit because you're getting to sell stuff and not actually physically be there. So it's I'd say 70% they need to be the ones in control and 30% you. And so for me, good communication is always really good key. Make sure you have everything well communicated, when you want when you're going to get paid, when you're going to get inventory, when you're going to check back in. So that's my continuing the relationship. And then the other thing is you always need to be offering new things and new products, new services. Otherwise you get stagnant and you don't grow. So I would, again, just recently talking with Naomi, it's good to have new product coming in because every store has its loyal customers. Especially like at least here on the West Coast, in the beach stores, you get people that always keep coming back to the store. Mm-hmm. But if they've already bought one of my whiskey smokers, they've already bought one of my coffee scoops, they're not going to buy it again next time they come to the store. They're coming back to see what's new and what's new at the store. And if you don't mm-hmm. ever change out your product or don't ever offer anything new, your sales are going to plateau or start to fall again, and then that relationship's going to sour. So I'm always, for me, I'm trying to introduce a new product at least every 3 months into my store rotation of products, because then I have something that's fresh and that those loyal customers that are coming into the store are going, oh, that's new. I haven't seen that before. And it mm-hmm. gets bought.
Yeah, because the amount of effort that it takes to get a customer is quite a bit, but a returning mm-hmm. customer is much less effort because you've already got that connection there. And if you already have that connection and they've seen your stuff and they've purchased it before, making a secondary, tertiary sale off of that is going to be much easier. Because like you were saying about offering new stuff, it was very similar to what I mentioned before about like the articulating dragons, where it's like, oh, I didn't really sell any, but I sold more Pokemon because I was introducing more Pokemon that people had. If you are looking at things from like a numbers perspective, in kind of like the startup world, there's a few numbers that you go off of. One of them, and this one is tougher to equate to this, it's called cost to acquire customer, CAC. Mm-hmm. That one, it's a little bit easier to do if you're doing like online stuff. If you're doing like, say like you're doing like Etsy or something like that. That one's a little bit more formulaic, where you can tell how much you have on ad spend to be able to bring that customer in. It's a little bit more difficult for retail storefronts. But another metric that is a little bit more applicable here is like lifetime value of a customer. That's how much a customer will spend in their lifetime on your products. Now, if you think about this when you're thinking about, like, say, cars, like, how often do people purchase cars? Some people want to upgrade each year and get the newest, latest thing and then sell off what they currently have. Or you have people who will buy something and hold on to it until it no longer works and they're done. It's a similar thing in the furniture industry, where sometimes people will go 20 years with a couch before they buy a new one, and they'll come back to those retail stores in 20 years because they enjoyed the experience they had there, mm-hmm. and they look forward to working with people there to buy it. So like the interval can be longer in those stores for when they actually need something. Now, you do also have people who they want to have like the latest colors or fabrics or whatever, and they might like buy and then resell stuff because it's more about style for them. It's less about the functionality of it. And that again kind of comes into like the customer types that people that you actually interact with. Because like you're saying, if it's something where they're looking to see what's new coming in, having new stuff, you're going to have options to buy more of those items. But if you don't have anything for them to actually look at, then that's a potential sale that you don't end up getting. And one other thing that I'll touch on is with the maintaining of the relationship. As he said there before, like, if you don't check in, like, if stuff isn't doing well with your stuff, it's like the display might get moved around or something like that. And if you're not there to, like, have some input in that, like, stuff will get moved. And I have one retailer that I was working with in Lincoln, like, we didn't have any sales come of it. And I think that relationship has basically gone its course, because they were originally a place that did upholstery and, like, refinishing stuff, and me offering wood furniture as, like, another thing that they could offer. They didn't really, it may not have really jived with their customers, and we haven't really seen any sales of it, but I still have a couple of pieces that are over there, and honestly, I haven't gone over there just because I don't have the room to, like, go get the stuff and, like, have a place to go and set it. Because it's like, well, there's this one walnut coffee table that's over there. It's like, it's fine over there. And so it, like, because for them, they started stocking, I can't remember which furniture store it was, but it was, like, out of someplace in North Carolina. There's a lot of furniture manufacturing out there. And they were able to sell several of those items, because for them, if they can do multiples of those, it's like, why would they want to do my stuff? And it didn't end up, it's like, it really hasn't worked out. So, you know, I've had my fair share of things that didn't work out. And some of it, too, is that I've been occupied with some of the custom orders that did come in, as well as trying the farmers market stuff. I haven't had time to nurture some of these relationships as much as I want to be able to, because there's another retail store that's in Lincoln, about an hour away from me, that, like, the relationship is still fine there, but it's on a consignment basis. And we had talked about doing a side table, but I already had other paid orders coming in that I needed to have attention on first. So that's why I never had really gotten to their stuff. So my turnover is a lot longer because of the larger items. So it's a little bit, it's been a little bit of different road for me. And I've also seen more sales come directly through me through, like, personal referrals. So that's why I actually haven't pushed some of these storefront sales as much as I could have. So I think once I do get caught up on some of these custom orders, I might do a little bit more of these things, but I just haven't added or tried to be as involved with some of those existing relationships, because of some of those other projects that I'm occupied with already, which is not a, you know, it's not a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is. So I just need to spend more time with that stuff when I do have time to actually get around to it for those other places that I just haven't had the relationship mature quite as much.
And absolutely, and knowing your limitations is huge, especially in these relationships, because you don't want to start a relationship and then have it end badly, because these shop owners all talk to each other, especially in a small area, a small town. They all know each other, and they all can say, oh, you know, Alex was really great, or, oh, I had a horrible experience with Alex. Oh, maybe I don't want to work with him. So make sure that you're not overreaching yourself. I have a prime example of that right now. I work with 2 stores, but I also have a day job. We chat here on this podcast. I do YouTube videos as well, and I'm teaching online and trying to grow more teaching stuff. I have a lot of stuff right now. I've had 2 stores recently reach out to me going, hey, we'd love to have some of your products in. Are you interested in doing this, 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 and this? And the answer is no. I don't. I know my bandwidth, and I only have enough time right now to keep restocking my Sea Gypsy and Pop Local stores, and I don't have enough time the way my business is currently set up and how my priorities have been to add more until I go completely full time or change some of my priorities of shifting some of my time around, which is fine. I'm happy with where I'm at, and I don't want to necessarily add another partner and then half-ass it. I want to really just focus on the partners I have and continuing to grow those relationships, because they have been so good and provided so much of the opportunities I have now. But that's, I would say, is very key, is to know your limitations so that you're not overreaching. And that's important for everybody, just in general, is just to know, don't overreach yourself, because you'll burn, one, you'll burn out, but two, you'll burn some bridges too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I also have there's a jewelry store in town where I'll do some holiday presents for them that because they do the like employee what are the gifts that they give at certain milestones, or like the 5, 10, 20-year milestones that
employment milestone gifts.
Yeah, those types of things. So I do some stuff for them where it's like, I think some of my stuff is in the like kind of like the mid range, where it's like the 5 or 10-year items, where it's like a laser engraved serving tray, and last year we added on top of that it was like a laser engraved barbecue set, where it was like a wooden handle spatula and some pokers and some tongs and stuff. And so he's like, some of his stuff he just orders in, and he'll laser stuff or personalize it, or it's like watches or other types of employee gift things, and mine fits in there. And we don't necessarily force anything. We just say like, yep, if that works good, great. And we did the we're probably not going to do the barbecue set anymore, just because it was a lot more involved on my end that I thought it was going to be. And we'll probably replace that with like a different item later on. But that's one where he's been asking me about ideas of, hey, this company, like their person that does like HR or whatever, who does these gifts, like they swap their person, they want to get some like different gifts in. What do you have for like ideas for some of these gifts that are like in the 10 or 15 category, where they're like, hey, they've got X amount of budget for these gifts, like what can we do for that? And sometimes we've had stuff work out, and other times it hasn't, and we just gotta keep on shifting and adjusting. And some of my stuff does stay, like occasionally we'll have extra left over from like a short run of those items, and so he'll just leave some of my stuff in his store so that he can have it as like a display item that he can say like, oh yeah, here's an example of this thing, or this other item that we have. Because since he's a jewelry store, like most of his stuff is jewelry, but a small portion is the corporate gift aspect of it, and so that's kind of where I fit into his stuff. So I don't do a whole lot in his store with the display, just because it doesn't really fit in with his business, so I don't worry about that. We just kind of start talking in the fall about what those gifts look like, and it's kind of a seasonal thing that we do together. So that one is a little bit different in that aspect, where there's not quite as much of like a physical storefront aspect of it, but there's still that business relationship there.
So the last thing I will add, and we kind of talked about a little bit, but with watching what people are doing with your products and checking back in, is make sure that the store isn't there to they're not modifying your products or taking the design and using it themselves, or stealing some ideas from you. And that again is part of that checking in on your products, making sure they're where you want them, that they're moving. But just be aware that, unfortunately, because this is business, there are some bad actors out there. So you really want to make sure that relationship is continuing to do well, but also that it's working for both of you and not just working for one of you.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not necessarily people being malicious. They just understood something a different way, which, depending on your perspective, could be like nefarious, or they should know better kind of a scenario, which, that does happen, because I had that one place where I need to pick up my stuff from. It was like, I gave them these shelves as to be like items that go on and are made to be sold, but they just kind of like set them up and just kind of like put stuff on them. It was like, no, like these are supposed to be like angle iron shelves that had like Monkey Pod 1 on them. They were supposed to be like sold, not just like used in your store to like hold stuff up on the, you know, on the walls. So I think there might have been a little bit of a disconnect there on that. So that's where what Mr. Duffy said earlier about understanding what those expectations are ahead of time and having those discussions, and then having those discussions when stuff does go south where they're like, hey, this wasn't meant to be that. Like, if this product is no longer, if it's modified in some way to make it so that they were able to display it, like if they like screwed something to a wall and they're like, well, if you're screwing this to a wall and it's like a cutting board, I can't sell that anymore, so you need to pay for it as a display item now, because I can't get that revenue back now as like an actual product. So you can, you know, you can be firm sometimes and stand your ground on stuff, because in the end, you know, if it's a good relationship, that will make it stronger by making that stuff communicated and refined, and then you have a better understanding. But if you have those discussions and things degrade and they get worse, then it's probably time to pull the plug on that particular vendor relationship, and then it probably shouldn't be something that takes up any more of your time, and your time could probably be better spent elsewhere.
Absolutely. Do you have anything else you want to add on our main topic here?
Nope, just, I mean, I said it before, but just a lot of asking questions and listening of what they need, because a phrase that I've heard and like to use is that people are not against you, they're just for themselves. So if you think about those vendors and what they need and think about it that way instead of what you need, you're probably going to have a much more fruitful discussion in the long run. And understanding how other people operate is just going to help you become better in the long run.
Absolutely.
Good news, everyone!
So switching over to Maker News and Events, as a reminder, AWFS Fair is next week. So if you're going to be there, reach out to me. I'm going to try and get a Maker meetup to do it. Because I'm going to be there, there is going to be no Whatcha Makin podcast on July 23rd, since I'll be traveling. So we'll be back on July 30th for an episode. So yes, there will be a week break. Also, just some news in the maker community. If you know Pat Lapp, or Canadian Pat, he's the fun Canadian guy who does big wood turning projects from the Netflix show Making Fun. He's having some issues that have been brought up recently in the maker community. There's a GoFundMe page along with the whole story and information about what's going on. So if you're interested in learning about that and want to know more about what's happening, I'll have a link in the show notes, or just search for Pat Lapp on Patreon, and you'll find it there as well. Or not Patreon, sorry, GoFundMe. You'll find them there as well.
Oh,
but speaking of Patreon,
I actually entered in and got this shirt for free from WTB Woodworking on one of their giveaways. So I got this was like one of the consolation prizes from one of their giveaways. So shout out to Bill for getting me this shirt, and I think I got like a hat and maybe like a sticker and maybe one other small item. I was like, oh, I didn't get the big item, but like I got a shirt out of it. So Bill's got some good stuff going on there.
Free shirts are great.
Yeah, that's always good. So, and if you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/whatchamakinshow and become a patron and experience all of those wonderful benefits and be the last person to get the special gift from Mr. Duffy if you become a patron before, what did we say, before August 1st? So
August
July
1st.
30. Is July 31st?
Yes, July 31st.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so enter by the end of the month. So that's what I got.
Hashtag don't let Brayden get it.
Exactly.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this week, and we appreciate each and every one of you. And remember,
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
good night, everybody.
Night.